Meet Chef Jonas. He loves food. And when I mean love, I mean obsessed. I mean passion to the very core. I mean, look at how awesome I am at cooking. Dance like no one's watching. Obsessed. For Jonas, being a chef is more than just cooking. It is pure l'amour, personified. He puts in experience, mind and heart in every dish he creates, followed by hearty servings of chest bumping. But at the end of the day, Jonas is all about creating food that makes people happy. And of course, about being a big hit with the ladies.
Now I'm going to show you some tricks of the trade so you can cook like a pro at home. I'll show you how to turn everyday ingredients into gourmet dishes and how you can get out of sticky culinary dilemmas in a flash, all without having to break the bank. So load up on the prep, self-confidence, and awesomeness, and get ready to be the chef of your own kitchen.
All this and more on Chef Next Door with Jonas Ng.
This is a story about a boy named Jonas. Today, Jonas is absolutely thrilled. That's because tonight, he's going out on a big date. As he counts down the hours, he gets increasingly excited, ecstatic, unbearable. It seems that nothing could ever rain on his parade today. Unfortunately, the universe has other plans for him. What to do, Jonas? Oh, what to do? Pull yourself together, man. You're a bloody chef. Perhaps you can whip up something from the ingredients that you have at home. Like that big juicy steak that you have in your freezer. That's it, old sport. Can't hurt to impress your date with some basic kitchen skills, right? A classy lady certainly deserves a classic romantic menu. First up, warm the cockles of her heart and her tummy with some good old mushroom soup. A fresh, quick salad should liven up the evening. Quick, effortless, and very sexy on the palate. Every lad should have a trusty go-to recipe for mashed potatoes. You know, for emergencies such as this. And of course, a real showstopper. Steak or poivroir. Cooked to perfection. Here's a tip. If you want to show her you care, gravy. That's the real deal. And not the powdered sort either. And to end the evening on a high note, wine and dine her with her favourite dessert. Chop chop, Jonas. Time to save the day.
Of course, something happens on the day of an important date. The struggle is real. Well, here we are in the process of saving the day. Just a few basic ingredients from your local grocery can turn a catastrophe into an Instagram-worthy meal. When choosing cooking wine, it doesn't have to be the fanciest or most expensive. It just has to be something you can actually drink. Salad greens. All I need are some crisp lettuce, in this case Lolo Rosso. What you buy depends on what you need it for, and in this case, I just need them fresh and crisp and neutral. Good butter. How do I know? Read the label. It should be minimum 82% milk fat because that's the good stuff. And in my case, always unsalted so that I can control the flavor. Cooking cream, all-purpose cream, whipping cream. The difference is the milk fat. Whipping cream is what I personally always have in my fridge because it has 35% milk fat, and that's the good stuff. Now, let me show you how a guy like me saves a day. Step 1, get your act together. Step 2, get that annoying narrator out of your head. And step 3, get right down to work. Now let's MacGyver this. My date Jamie loves wine and loves fruits. That's why I have her in mind. I'm gonna do my famous and beautiful wine poached pears. It's just simply wine and pears and cooking them together and making a beautiful combination. Just red wine, let me melt my sugar in it, And I have some beautiful spices like star anise and cinnamon. It's actually cashew bark, but close enough. And all I want to do is dissolve my sugar in it, bring it up to a boil, and then lower it to a simmer, put my pears in it. Let me peel my pears. And you know why I'm doing dessert first, right? Because dessert is usually the most time-consuming thing and also takes the most space to do. So might as well just get it out of the way. If your pears are a little bit round on the bottom because you want them standing up, just cut the ends so that it stands up straight. So let me stand my pears in there, bring my wine to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, and you'll know it's cooked in about 40-ish minutes. But more importantly, it takes on the beautiful ruby red color and it's still tender but firm enough to hold its shape. And then we'll go from there. My pears are beautifully done. It took about 30-40 minutes. They're nice ruby red, absorbed all that beautiful flavor. And that, ladies and gentlemen, pure sexiness. Now, let me just take away those spices because it really depends on you. If you want it more spiced, you can keep it. If you want it less spiced, like me, because I don't want it too spicy, take it out now. And at this point, I can take it up to a full high and reduce it to a nice syrupy glaze. My reduction is at a beautiful stage, and I usually take it out just before I think it's perfect because the residual heat will do the rest. It will still thicken up as it cools down. So my pears are good, my sauce is good. After they cool down, they go to the fridge where they chill out.
Water stains cramping your style? Use the steam method. Place the glass on top of steaming water for a few seconds. Wipe clean with a cloth, voila! This works for utensils as well. While dessert is chilling in the fridge, other delicious flavours will be heating up the kitchen. Next up, a hearty soup and some creamy potatoes when Jonas, Chef Next Door, returns.
For today's recipes and more exciting stuff, please visit our Facebook page, Chef Next Door PH. Oh, and don't forget to like.
So here's where Chef Jonas is at. Chef Jonas was very much looking forward to tonight's date when heavy traffic reared its ugly head. Rather than cancel the date and enter the friend zone, our hero pulled out every kitchen trick in the book to save tonight's romantic dinner. He's off to a smashing start with the wine-poached pears, but now he has to make a hearty mushroom soup and creamy mashed taters, but he's running out of time. And that's where our hero is at.
Sometimes when you're pressed for time like I am, you may have to cook two things at the same time. That's why I'm making my cream of mushroom soup and famous roasted garlic mashed potatoes simultaneously. For my roasted garlic mashed potatoes, I need roasted garlic. Really quick way to do this: cut the top off, place it in aluminum foil, season it with some salt, some pepper, and beautiful extra virgin olive oil. Flavor it, wrap it loosely, put it in my oven. That should go about 30-40 minutes until it's about nice and tender and caramelized. It's lost that pungent smell and it's gonna be beautiful. Roasted garlic's in. Let me boil my potatoes. Now, I always start my potatoes in room temperature water so it comes slowly to a boil. That way it doesn't get waterlogged. The other thing is skin on so that not a lot of water seeps in. I want fluffy, mealy mashed potatoes, not water soggy mashed potatoes. I can get started on my cream of mushroom soup. Let me start with my roux. Roux is just simply butter and flour. If you're wondering what roux is, it's a fancy French word for a thickening agent. It's just a combination of flour and butter, and what the butter does is it coats the fat in the butter, coats the starch molecules in the flour so that it doesn't clump up. And I'm just cooking it enough so that it can thicken and pre-cook the starch molecules so that when I put it into my liquid, it will thicken it very quickly without waiting too long for the starch molecules to gelatinize. So my roux is pretty much done. Let me just set that aside. I always start my mushroom soup with beautiful, beautiful butter. Now, why mushroom soup? It's one of my go-to things. It's one of my go-to dishes. Whenever I feel like bringing some really nice connection to the day. Why? It's scientifically proven that when people hold or taste something warm, it establishes trust. That's why you always offer coffee. And as always, a little bit of salt to to release some moisture, prevent some burnage. And then my garlic. I hope you could smell this from where you are. For this recipe, I'm using white button mushrooms because they really work well. I would work with any sort of fresh mushroom, not the dried ones. And these ones, I don't have to chop them really nicely. They will become beautifully, beautifully flavored later. And then I'm just gonna blend them to make a smooth cream soup. And to give it that extra kick, you know me, I always give it that extra kick. White wine to deglaze it, give it that beautiful, beautiful flavor. And especially when you're cooking with alcohol, again, burn the alcohol off first because you don't want the alcohol, you just want the juice. I have my trusty bouillon, not too much. And then I add some water. Okay, water's there. I just want to bring it to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, let the flavors get to know each other for about 20-30 minutes, let it reduce, and then we're gonna finish it with cream, thicken it up with roux, blenderize it, it's gonna be sexy. Roasted garlic is done. My potatoes should be done. How do I know they're done? The skin is cracking, plus it's fork tender. I can easily pierce it with a fork. I can even break it with a fork. Potatoes a little bit too hot, so let me start with my flavorings first. Butter and cream. Now, I want them to heat up now. In the meantime, let me push the pulp out of my garlic. Potatoes are good to handle for me, but if you find that the potato is a little bit too hot for you, just, simple trick, dip your hands in some water, room temperature or cold water, and the water will act as a barrier between your hands and the potato and protect your hands for a little bit because water has a very high specific heat. Now, let me check my flavorings. The smell of the cream, the butter, and the garlic is just beautiful. I'm gonna season heavily with salt and pepper. And the reason I want it hot is so that when I mix it with my potatoes, I don't have to manipulate the potatoes too much because manipulating a lot will create a lot of gluten strands, which makes it gummy. Nobody likes gummy potatoes. My soup, love it. Last couple finishing touches, some cream, parsley. It's always nice to have roux around because roux is a really nice thickener. It's similar to things like cornstarch slurry, or the French also use something called beurre manier, which is butter rolled in flour, and it just helps thicken as well. So there are a lot of thickeners. It's just I happen to find roux has a lot more flavor. Okay, you gotta trust me. Preparing something like this, really simple, can get you really up there with the higher ups because this is something that is just so much class to it. There's just so much flavor to it, and people will never forget the first time they actually have really good mushroom soup. Let me get my blender, and this is the last stage to it. Now, you must be wondering why I did it the proper way, the long cut way. I just want to do it right because I'm trying to impress somebody. And like I said, you never forget the first time you taste really, really good mushroom soup. I kind of want to impress this girl. See where it goes. Just garnish it with a little parsley. And voila.
How to create a romantic setting. Add some punches of whimsy. Create soft lighting with some tea lights. Bring the place to life with some decorative plants. Jazz it up with flower petals. Crank the whole thing up a notch. Superb. Instant romance. Looks like Chef Jonas's night is turning out to be better than he originally planned. Juicy steak and a refreshing salad are next on the menu when Chef Next Door returns.
For today's recipes and more exciting stuff, please visit our Facebook page, Chef Next Door PH. Oh, and don't forget to like.
Wine poached pears? Check. Mushroom soup? Check. Mashed potatoes? Check. Mise en place for tonight's entree? Check.
Wow.
So Jamie, welcome to my kitchen. I hope you like it.
Wow, well done.
And
Well
guys,
done.
say hi to Jamie.
Jonas. Jonas. What are you doing?
Would you like some steak?
Of course.
Let me impress you. So this is my steak au poivre, pepper steak, French style. I want to preheat my pan, high heat. I got my clarified butter. Let me heat some of that.
So, can you just clarify, what is clarified butter?
Clarified butter is butter that I took most of the solids of milk and water from, leaving mostly purely fat. Because butter in its original form has a very low smoke point. This way, I don't get burnage when I cook it, and I still get the beautiful butter flavor that I want. I still want to pat these dry. How do you like your steak seasoned?
Lightly seasoned, I suppose.
All right. In this case, I'll allow you to season it.
Okay.
So, I want to make sure my steaks are seasoned mostly the same, evenly, so that the first bite is the same as the last bite.
So, I always thought that you should marinate the steak in like salt and pepper, like maybe a couple of minutes or even an hour before. Is that better? Or
There's more
should
than
you-
one way to skin a cat.
Okay.
But personally, I like to season my steaks just before I cook it because salt, remember this, salt will take away moisture.
Okay.
That will leave my steaks not super juicy when I cook them. Plus the fact that it takes a lot of moisture to the surface level, leaves my steaks kind of not having that nice caramelization. And my pan is hot. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? You know the pan is hot enough if you hear the right sizzle. Sizzle.
It's the sound of deliciousness.
That's sexy sizzle. Now, some people like to turn it a lot. I like to turn it once in a while because what I'm looking for is for that crust to develop, and searing it will lock the juices in and create that caramelization on the surface. It's the proteins and the sugars caramelizing in reacting to the fat and the heat. That's called the Maillard effect. All right, watch this.
What is that?
That's brandy.
Wow. Okay. Apart from the fact that it is fun to play with fire, why flambe?
My goal is to take some of that beautiful flavor from the bottom of the pan. Plus, I'm burning off the alcohol by flaming it up. And the most important reason for flambeing is to impress the girls. Are you impressed?
Sure. Can I try cooking the second one?
Sure.
So would it be better to leave it by itself, to leave it alone first, or are you allowed to kind of, shake the pan?
I personally like to let it cook.
Okay.
But then again, I just make sure that I cook it to a doneness that I like. I don't know about you. I like my steaks about medium rare, medium. And when I teach my cooks at the restaurant, I try to teach them using their senses. Because sometimes you can't rely on the thickness, the timing, the thickness of the pan, the conduction, the efficiency of the stove. So I just tell them, touch your steak,
Okay.
touch this part of your hand. This is rare, not touching any finger.
Okay.
This is medium rare,
Medium rare,
medium,
medium,
medium well,
medium well,
and well done.
and well done. Ah, okay.
That's using what you have with you.
That's right. That's a pretty good peg.
All right, onto the sauce. Let me remove some of those burnt bits and some extra fat. I just need a little bit of fat. My crushed peppercorns will make the sauce. Let me put some fresh butter. And I just want to cook the peppercorns until they're a little bit toasty. They smell really nice. And I'm gonna add some red wine, bouillon cubes, and then water. That sauce is getting there. It's getting to the sexiness I want. This is where the art comes in. I want to mount it with butter, monte au beurre. And I want to turn my heat down low The sauce is reducing. But before I do that, I'm gonna get some cream.
Jonas, when you say mounting it with butter, what do you mean?
Mounting with butter means putting the butter one by one and liaising it with the sauce. That means I'm creating an emulsion. Big words, right? But in order to do that, I want to stabilize the sauce with some cream. And that will help liaise the sauce. Otherwise, my sauce will be easily separated. So I'm swirling. I want the butter to combine slowly. It's like same thing when I'm making my vinaigrette. So after each piece melts, I put in a new piece. And what you're starting to see, it's starting to become really creamy, really velvety, and the butter
it kind
just
of
adds
thickens it.
little bit, yeah. And it adds some real richness to the sauce. So my sauce is beautiful. Tastes great. The only thing is, set it aside, strain it, serve it on the steaks.
Jonas, I gotta say, this smells so good. In a way, I'm kind of glad that that dinner didn't push through because I'm learning so much from you.
Thank you. You know what? I've got one more thing to show you to complete our meal.
Okay.
Let's make a really simple, quick salad. All right, I'm ready to plate. Garnish of parsley, dinner served.
Et voila. It's almost impossible to believe that none of these dishes even existed hours ago. And it just goes to show, classics really never go out of style, eh? Well done, old sport.
And that, my friends, is how you save the day. With a few kitchen skills, some nice ingredients, and good time management. Impressive doesn't have to be complicated. But your date doesn't have to know that, does she? Cheers.
Cheers.
And that is the story of how Chef Jonas saved the day. Will he manage to stay out of the dreaded friend zone? Alas, that is a story for another episode.
Darating si Piolo! That's the most action I've got. I hear ringing in my ears. Real ringing in my ears.